Hey guys, welcome back to the 1v1 podcast. I am your host Vlhadus, and today I have a very special guest. His name is JROCThaGreat. What's going on, JROC?
Oh man, it's been good, man. I've been chilling.
I do honestly, right off the cuff, dude, thank you so much for just watching the podcast, leaving comments. It really helps out the channel and just helps out it pump to more and more people, because I know right now, especially for Ash's content, it's slim pickings, but the people that do try to interact with the content, has been really great. And that's one of the main reasons why I came from the World of Warcraft community to the Ashes community, because it's just, I don't know, the WoW community is it was at a low point, you know what I mean? So I think Ashes is a lot more vibrant. There's much more people that are willing to have interactions. So I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, nah, man, it's no problem. And I agree. The Ashes community is pretty positive for the most part. I mean, everybody really wants the game to succeed, and it's not often that you can get invested in something like this early, and it's just so kind of almost pure and genuine, and it's in such a good place.
No, for sure, man. And just to kind of, because right now you're shaping up to be a content creator. Is that what you were telling me earlier?
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna spin up. I originally was gonna try and do it with New World, but that was a shitstorm fiesta. Like, and I actually had a good time at launch because I was just so into the PvP. So I just flagged up, and so I didn't like have a horrible time at launch. But oh man, when you hit in game, it was just like, bomb.
Yeah,
that's
where it pretty much fell off. Yeah. So I'll just give you a little bit of advice. As someone who's only been doing this since January of this year, don't get discouraged. Like right now, I think is the perfect time to be a content creator, because right now I think Ashes is ramping up. This October live stream, it's probably going to get even more crazy, and then November, and then inevitably December, which, cross the fingers, we're probably going to get an Alpha 2 date for Christmas, which
me and you were hoping for the same thing.
Yep. So I think it's a perfect time. And I think the other thing too is that I think a lot of people overthink what people from the Ash community want to see. People just want to hear opinions about Ash as a creation. Like, that's really it. Like, the people that are constantly searching for content are just people that want to hear about their takes on Ashes. What do they think about Ashes? So that's kind of like my 2 cents, take that for what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a pretty small content creator myself, but I personally love just like, that's why I do the 1v1s, is to interact with the community and to kind of get a perception as to like how people feel, and not just content creators. Like, I've been interviewing people that are just players, that are MMO enthusiasts, and in general. So take that for what it is.
I appreciate that, because that's why I kind of felt like it was a good time, because it's people, like you said, they just want opinions, and the more opinions that are in video form, the better. Because I hear that people at Intrepid actually watch quite a bit of the content on YouTube, and a lot of people want to watch, or for the most part listen to something. They don't want to have to go to Reddit, go to the forums, go here, read through, sift through so much stuff trying to find palatable content. So I'll throw my 2 cents in.
Well, let's get your 2 cents on what kind of MMOs you played. Like, where did you get started in the genre?
I'm a true WoW baby. My first MMO was WoW. I believe I was like 15 years old. I was at vanilla. I signed up, dial up, all of that. I remember when it had to close down for like a month because it didn't work. Like, all the vanilla horror stories that weren't really horror stories, I didn't know any better.
Neither did I.
Yeah. So I fumbled around vanilla, not knowing what I was doing, got semi involved in TBC, and then I popped into Wrath in a big way. I was a big time. I was in Shadow Song, and I was a big time tank. I did raids, and I did all of that stuff like that for a while. People were like paying me to raid with them.
Dang.
Because I had like 12 or 15 friends where we all kind of started like introducing to each other in vanilla. And we got really good at the game, but we never really joined a big guild. And so we all kind of like specialized. There's like dudes that all they did was PvP, and they were like nasty at PvP. Then there's people that all they did was heal, really good DPS. And so we could do 10 mans, but we couldn't like, go do anything big time. And so like the bigger raid groups would want us for our lockouts and stuff like that.
Okay. And like outside of WoW, what other MMOs have you tried or played?
Oh, I played WoW up until Kata, and then some life stuff happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm pretty sure SWTOR was up next. I played
Mm-hmm.
the SWTOR beta. Really liked SWTOR. Played it at launch. Went at it really, really hard. A lot of people think that SWTOR kind of failed because content dried up. That's not really what happened. Hollywood had the voice actor strike, and that lasted for a few years. And everything in SWTOR is voice acting. So
Mm-hmm.
they had a content drought, and so I left during the content drought. Then played a lot of FPS games for a really long time.
Okay.
Then ESO relaunched from its failed initial launch or rough launch on PC, and then I played that on PS4, and then I put like over 2,500 hours into that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I met one of my closer friends, Simcoe, and that's when I graduated from PVE Andy to hardcore sweaty PvP, Cyrodiil PvP, crucified. I mean, kind of, not crucified me, but
Mm-hmm.
put me through the fire, came out golden, because back then the best way to grind champion points was to go into Cyrodiil, where you're trying to grind your points and people are killing you. So
Right.
you eventually start fighting back, and then all the good spots had people in it. Then next thing you know, you're enthralled in these wars, and then now you're just doing a bunch of PvP. And
Right.
that was a long time ago. And we got really good. We got like really invested because we were already good at PvE, and I don't think a lot of PvE players kind of underestimate themselves. If you're a medium to top tier PvE player that cares about being decent at the game, you
Mhm.
can transfer into PvP pretty decently, as long as you're not too hard on yourself.
No, for sure. I really appreciate not how much MMO experience you have, because you do have a ton of it, but because you came from World of Warcraft and then you started to really get into ESO and then also play New World. So you had a very good blend of using tab compared to
Right.
using action. And I think that's very important to the kind of conversation we might have based on the newest live stream, which
Right.
has the community a little bit torn.
Right.
And I'll talk about something a little bit later about how the community is torn, quote unquote. But let's get right into the whole tab versus action. So you playing ESO and then New World, and then you also coming from World of Warcraft. What did you just think of the basic range attack? Like, what did you think of the presentation in general?
The presentation was a good step up from the melee. Because
Okay.
once the hype wore off from the melee, I agree with everybody. It was just kind of bland, and it wasn't really organized. It wasn't really clear what was going on all the time. I had to watch it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed how he was, in tab, and then he let us know, hey, I'm moving to action.
Right.
It looks, a lot of people just, I think, take for granted, this is pre-alpha 2 footage. The game looks amazing.
I mean, for
And-
someone like yourself who's done betas and alphas of other games, I mean, I'm sure you can definitely attest to that.
That's what I said. Like, it looks amazing.
It does.
And it flows really well. I really liked how the Ranger moves. I'm a
Right.
short bow fan. I
Mhm.
honestly think they're gonna have to tweak the not the short bow, but the other one. I'm sorry, I can't
The
remember what it's
longbow.
called. Yeah, the longbow. Because whether they realize it or not, short bow is kind of OP. Because if you're just shooting around the
Right.
world, it doesn't really matter what bow you use. And then in PvP, it's just gonna be just better.
Right.
Now, in like group content, longbow might fit in, but it might end up needing some love because you just move so fast, so well with that short bow.
Yes.
Snipe should probably be a skill shot. I feel like the way that it, charges up and everything, I'd like to see it a skill shot. As far as the tab combat and the action combat goes, it's a lot like Guild Wars 2 and ESO. Whereas ESO is a more refined Guild Wars 2. I feel like
Right.
the action side is going to be like a more refined ESO. And then we're going to have a full tab suite.
Right. How can I say this? The ranged combat, when it comes to primary ranger abilities, I always envisioned there being skill shots that there's no way, like snipe should be an action only ability, meaning there is no version of tab for that ability. So And I also believe that there should be tab only abilities where there really isn't an action only version of it. Like you can just, it's tab and that's it. And then
Right.
there's abilities that work in a hybrid style. It works one way as tab and a completely other way as action. Now you can do, damage differences. You can do, one has a debuff, one does not, because the tab one does not because it auto aims, but the one, if you get it off on action, it gives you a debuff on top of the damage. There's multiple things they can do. Now, me personally, I don't agree with certain people saying that the basic ranged attack should be aimed like New World. I don't agree with that
Me
because
neither.
I feel like the skill of you aiming should come from the primary abilities, not the basic attacks. Because the other thing that I feel is kind of unknown right now is what kind of percentage are we going to be using the basic melee or basic range attacks at endgame? Because the way Steven talked about it in the live stream was that we're going to have a suite of abilities and a rotation and everything like that. So, like, are we even going to use like the basic ranged or basic melee attacks at all? Or are we going to just use a 7 or 8 button combination that we use in rotation that we literally just forget there is even a basic ranged or basic melee attack? Because if that's the case, then again, that's why I prefer the actual primary abilities being locked to either action or tab or having hybrids of them or whatever. And that way, if the talent system is a like 40 abilities you can choose from, if you want to be that more action oriented player, then you can have 80% of your abilities be solely action. And then, but if you also want to be a fully tab player or with some hybrid abilities, you can be 80% tab with some skill shots in there. Or just 100% of whatever. That's where I think the player agency should come in. And I think the other reason why people are kind of upset, and I don't know if you agree on this, but we can talk about this next, is a lot of people say that there should be some kind of incentive for the basic ranged attack, because right now you can just do tab and it's 100% hit. Do you agree with that? Do you think there should be some kind of incentive for being in action mode for the basic ranged attack?
That's where the big tear in the community is.
Right.
Because I have such a well-rounded experience in MMOs, I don't really care about combat as long as it's good. Now,
Right.
because I've been more PvP focused, I like action a little bit more. Now, where you're gonna have a problem is, I imagine the community is probably 50% tab and then like 50% a bunch of different variations of action, right?
Right.
Um, I don't think the tab crowd would be like happy. Like, you seem like you'd be all right with it. I'd be all right with it, but I'm kind of, in the
Right.
middle. I
Right.
don't know if the tab crowd would be happy that you get a 10% damage bonus just right off the rip just because you're doing aimed.
Right.
Because it's soft. Now,
Right.
because it's soft, you're gonna still land about 80% of your stuff. And then we don't know how the stats are gonna work for tab in the waterfall, because
Right.
it's interesting because it's also projectile. So
True.
because it's projectile, and then how are the waterfall stats gonna operate? And then stats on gear. Are we gonna be able to cap accuracy and hit all the time? Or are we
Right.
gonna be capped at 80, so you're supposed to move, possibly miss 20% of your stuff anyway?
Right.
It's all about, we don't have a big enough picture. We have a big enough picture to speculate, but we don't really have big enough picture to be upset,
True.
because there aren't any tab projectile games. So that's new. That's definitely something that's exclusive to Intrepid and Ashes.
Right.
So how is that going to behave with the waterfall stats? Are we going to have accuracy on our gear? You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
what I think should be done is, I do think they should get a range boost off the rip. You should just get 5 to 10% more range
Mhm.
when you're in action. I like buffing secondary stats more so than just boom, you get more damage.
Right.
Now, I could see 10% more or 5% more range, 5% more damage, 5% more crit chance, 5% more this, or armor penetration, or anything, or however they want to balance it.
Mhm.
But if we lean too much into the damage, we'll upset a whole nother side of the crowd. And I think
Right.
also a lot of people are, because I've done quite a bit of action combat, I immediately saw the benefits of the action camera. Where some people, if you haven't done both, you don't understand. That's why I'm saying, like, a lot of people that want to aim.
Right.
When the ranger is that fast and that person is playing with tab,
Right.
if you're trying to aim, they're gonna kick your ass. Period.
Right.
Like, there's nothing you can do about it. So you want that soft target,
That's soft lock.
regardless if you the soft lock. You want the soft lock regardless if you know it or not. Like, you want it. And then, but like in group combat, if you jump spin, because I've said this on a few different videos, if you jump spin, because let's say you take a shot or a bolt of blast or something from a mage from behind you, and then you
Right.
jump spin to get that mage, and then there's a tank right next to him or something right next to him. If you press tab, you don't know which one of those targets tab is going to actually tab to. And so you might end up having to press tab twice. If
Right.
I can just jump spin and shoot, I can shoot either one of them. I get a speed bonus. So like you said, if it's a skill shot, or even if it's just a regular shot, or even if they put a little bit of a stagger on the longbow, because it could probably use that. That would probably help it in contrast to the short bow. Either way, if I jump spin to engage, I can immediately engage. And it's seconds and like frames that matter so much in PvP. It's not enough of a buff, but if we can find a happy median with like secondary stats, maybe a little movement speed, maybe a little bit of range, like little things there, I feel like we can have a happy median to where the tab community is happy. But like I said, the big issue, and I'm a little rambly, but
No, it's fine.
the big issue is we just don't know how the projectile tab is gonna work with the waterfall stats. Because if they just put a 80% cap on it, then it's just kind of even off the rip. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna hit about 80%, 70 to 80% of your stuff
Right.
in the soft target. So
Right.
until we know that piece, we can definitely speculate, but I would encourage the community to not be like up in arms. And then also what you said earlier about all that about action shots, I believe similar. I believe not so much that certain things, snipe should probably be just action. I agree. But I would also be cool with the augment system or the leveling system within the weapon, making it making it an action shot in exchange for automatic crit, or in exchange for like a big dot, a big
Well,
debuff.
let me just be clear. So I always thought that was how it was going to work. Like I
Right.
thought before that, oh yeah, there's probably going to be action only abilities, tab only abilities, and hybrid abilities. And that's why there's going to be a lot of abilities to choose from, because you select what abilities you want to have. Like it's that player
Right.
agency. Now, that's the way I thought. But honestly, what I want is just like in World of Warcraft. Back in the day, if you nerfed or changed Bladestorm, like back in Wrath, it affected both PvE and PvP. So,
Right.
you know, if Bladestorm was OP in PvP, they nerfed it, and it's like, well, damn, like I don't even PvP at all. I just do raids, and now my Bladestorm's like nerfed. Like that's stupid. And
Yeah,
then
now I lost 20% damage.
and I lost 20% damage. You know, it's all stupid. But now they basically have PvE and PvP separate. So
Right.
the way I'm kind of envisioning is the same way for abilities in Ashes when it comes to action or tab. So the snipe ability, you can have a tab version of snipe, right?
Right.
That does a certain bit of damage that maybe does a modifier or whatever. And then you can have an action version of snipe where, hey, if you want to do a little bit more, you actually get this extra debuff. And depending on, you know, like what you do, I'm not saying it's a headshot, it's an automatic crit, but basically it's like an additional modifier, and you just do more damage because you're having to aim the ability now. Like I wouldn't mind, even as a tab person, that kind of a trade-off, because again, you're so right, because how movement works in this game. If you don't want to be that kind of player to aim, and you just want to be able to, hey, I just want this ability because it does really good damage even in tab, I don't know if I'm going to get that off with all this jumping and moving and vaulting over freaking trees or whatever the case is.
Right.
I don't want to deal with that. That's my choice. But if
Right.
I want the choice of being like, you know what, I want to challenge myself, I want to get better in the actions combat, I want more action abilities, then you should be rewarded for doing so. And that's basically what I hope. And I think they are going to do that, because we did see that there is you can snipe in the tab and you can snipe in action. So
Right.
I really hope that's the route they continue to go on. I just hope that there are almost two separate functions of snipe, one for tab with, probably lesser damage, maybe a modifier or whatever, and then another version of snipe when you're in action mode, that does something a little bit different. How they can see, because the other question I have, it looks like you can seamlessly transition from action to tab.
Yeah, I
So
peeped that too. And
so
then that, yeah,
no, I was just going to say that because of that, that also puts in an extra skill gap
exactly.
for, hey, I'll use snipe tab, but then I'm going to snipe an action right here because he's stunned and I can do more damage. That sounds awesome to me.
Right. That's true hybrid combat.
Yes.
And then that puts the skill cap back in it. That raises the skill cap significantly, but it keeps the floor still manageable.
Right.
Because if you're not good, you can still get smacked around by a tab player. It's like
correct.
Around the medians, everybody will be equal, but around the top end, action people will probably pull away, but it'll be because they're just significantly better. But it'll give you the hybridization. If you can just switch seamlessly, which that's what it looks like, that you can do it seamlessly, the combat's going to be bananas.
Yes.
It's going to be just, people are just going to be mixing stuff. It's going to be bananas.
Right.
So I'm hoping for that as well, because of what you said, it seems like you can swap seamlessly. We have like our ideas like 90% the same.
No, for sure. And again, with the talent system, hell, they could have certain talents favor a certain mode, like tap mode or action mode. I don't know. We haven't seen the talent choices, but all I'm saying is the fact that you can hopefully seamlessly transition from action to tab like that, depending on what abilities you select, can change and modify based on your mode. That sounds pretty awesome to me.
Right.
So, I mean, here's the thing I was going to mention earlier. As divided as it seems in the forums when it comes to this, I was looking at YouTube videos of like Asmongold reacting to like the basic ranged attack, and Asmongold has a pretty diverse group of people, and he gets hundreds of thousands of views.
Right.
No one was talking about how bad it was in the comment section of his videos. He has almost 7,000 likes on that video with like less than 100 dislikes.
Right.
And so all I'm saying is, it seems like in our little community of Ashes right now that it's super torn, but in the overall general populace that doesn't really follow Ashes that much, they love what's happening right now when it comes to the ranged basic attack. And again, that's why I really appreciate them sticking to this hybrid model, because whether we like it or not, whether you're an action Andy, you know what I mean? You are a minority if you're an action player, a vast minority, because the overall general populace are all tab players. And I think personally, I didn't mind the basic melee attack either. And here, as a tab player, action is so much better in melee. I would rather be action all day as a melee, but
because your attacks cleave.
Right. And that's why I don't think it's that advantageous to be a tab player as a melee. I think it's way more advantageous to be an action Andy at that point. But as a ranged, having a hybrid with what we just talked about earlier sounds pretty freaking cool. And all I'm saying is that I think the general populace is what we really need to try to attract, because there are so many things detracting them because it's a PvP game. And I know every time people say it's a PvX game, whatever, it's a PvP game. Like
it is.
To every casual person that I speak to, they classify this as a PvP game. Now, whether I try to explain to them that it's a PvX is irrelevant to them, because if they can't go in the open world without toggling off PvP, it's a PvP game.
Right.
So now, what do you think? Now, this is kind of like not off the wall, but just on Ashes and stuff like that. What do you think is probably going to be the biggest detractor of why people won't try Ashes? Do you think it's the PvP? Do you think
it's the PvP 100%, bro?
Oh,
PvE Andes. And like I said, I could talk about it because I used to be one. I was never like against PvP. It's just like I did WoW PvP for a while, but tab PvP just isn't like super rewarding to me, so I didn't stick with it like that. But I digress. What I'm getting at is people just do not like having to PvP, bro. Like it's something about the prospect, the anxiety, the angst and the anxiety that they do not want that. And
Right.
I get it, but it's not gonna be as big of a thing, I think, as people make it out to be. Because I even played Arcade. I actually played Arcade a month before the event that Steven says he quit. I remember when they started selling the logs and all of that stuff. I
Right.
remember that.
From
But
the
even
trees.
then, from the trees. I
Yeah.
remember that. And I had just joined it and I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then the community fell off a cliff. But anyway, what I'm getting at is even there, it was PvP all the time, but people didn't just murder you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It rarely happened. It very rarely happened. And so I don't think it's going to be as big of a thing. And that's why I'm encouraging people to play it anyway and then get involved early, join communities, because I'm going to protect all my PvE Andes because I need them to be the artisans and I need them to craft my stuff. I love the
No, it's
craft and
true.
stuff.
It's
Yeah.
true.
I love the craft and stuff. I'm a completionist kind of elitist MMO player, not elitist in the bad way, but like I like to do everything. So I like to be self-sufficient.
Right.
So I'm going to craft, but if I'm crafting armor, I can't craft my weapon. If I'm crafting weapons, I can't craft my armor. I'm going to need
Right.
pots. I'm going to need this. So we all need each other. That's my favorite part about one of my favorite parts of what they're doing. It truly is a PvX game because damn it, we need everybody and everybody needs each other. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
it's true.
You can't do it alone. Not realistically. So I'm gonna protect you, bro. Not you, but you know, so I'm not gonna let people come in my node just like raising hell. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like whoever I'm aligned with and whatever, I'll fight. Like
and that's the thing. Like I think that's why I would always tell people, if you don't want to play at launch because you're afraid of all this mass PvP going on, then wait. Because I feel what's going to happen, especially it being very server based, is that there might be a server that literally is a PvE server. Like everybody just has the kind of, you know, consensus that we don't like PvP. Like we just do all the PvE stuff. There might be some like PvP when it comes to like nodes and all other stuff.
The minimum.
But yeah, bare minimum, because everybody there just has the consensus that we don't really try to PvP here. Now you can have some of like the, you know, the crap players go in there to start cause some havoc or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's a pretty safe server. And I think that's where people are going to kind of go, right? Because if you're a hardcore player, you're not going to want to go somewhere where no one's PvPing. You want to go where a server where everybody's doing it. And so you're going to have different servers labeled for different things. You're going to have the server that's all down for naval. Like if you want to be the naval person, this server, everybody's doing naval there. Now, of course, we always want the hope, right? That every server is doing everything.
Every server is balanced.
Yeah, every server is doing everything. But at the end of the day, like I think as certain servers will be known for a particular thing. That's what I personally think that's going to happen. I think every server is going to do a little bit of everything, but I think certain servers are going to be a little bit more known for the naval stuff, the sieges, the open world PvP, you know, caravans, you know, whatever the case is. And I think that's really exciting. And that's why I feel like Ashes may have an upward trajectory over the coming months, because you're going to have people that are going to be very hesitant, and then they're going to probably keep watching their favorite streamer or keep watching the, you know, how Ashes is going. And then they're gonna be like, man, there's not as much PvP in this game as I thought there was. You know what I mean? Like, because people really don't understand or know the corruption system and how punishing it is to be corrupted. And so I think once people get a taste of that and then have a couple of their pieces be lost, I think people are going to understand like, I don't know if I want to be corrupted anymore. But it is that risk reward. And now me personally, I think the only problem I have with the corruption system, I've talked to some peeps about it, and I personally want to test heavily about this. The only problem I have with the corruption system is the fact that as soon as you become corrupted, the fact that you can probably switch your gear to crap gear. You know what I mean? Like I personally would rather have whatever gear you were wearing when you killed that player is locked. So you can't switch out your gear to like crap gear. Like you have, like if you die, it's that gear that's going to probably be lost. You know, the gear you're equipped with. Because I feel like what's probably going to happen is people aren't going to care about being corrupted, because then they can just switch to like level 1 gear, and they don't care if they die because you can have my level 1 gear. Who cares? So I think that's like the only kind of thing that I would want to have happen probably to corrupted players is that whenever you kill somebody, you're locked to the gear you killed with.
I can give you one better because there's actually a way to get around that too.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
how the corruption works to me is it's tiered, because I like a little drama, so I don't mind like the very toppity ends of the corruption. So like 1 or 2 kills.
Right.
I'm okay with that. So I don't want it to be too punishing early, but the people that are PKing, like that's just what they're doing. They're not even trying to like, because if you're getting like platinum and platinum is like really valuable,
Right.
I'm going after to get platinum and
Right.
you done hit up all the nodes, I might just kill you, bro. Now with that being said, you're probably gonna fight me back because you have a bag full of
A platinum.
But I'm just saying, in those circumstances, I don't want to instantly be corrupted and now I'm 10 times slower and now I can't do any, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause
Right.
I like that little bit of drama. But how you fix it is you just make sure they can drop anything in their bags. Because what'll end up happening is I'll see you and I want to PK you, but I'm wearing like my shiny 10 times enhanced blah 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 mace, right? Well,
Right.
then I'll take that off and I put on like a decent gear, and then I fight you. Yeah, I might get locked, I might drop that, but I can make that mace over and over with 5 enhancements and it doesn't cost me anything. And
Right.
then what people will do is when they're PKing, they just won't wear their best gear. They'll have it in their bag, but they won't wear it. You see what I'm saying? So like what you're trying to get around is saying they'll swap after the corruption. No, they'll just have good enough gear, because the average player isn't going to be good enough at PvP that a player killer is going to be pretty deep in the PvP that where he can kill you with average gear. So he's just going to wear average gear. You should be able to drop anything gear wise in your bag. So when you have so much corruption that you can drop gear, it should be anything possible in your bag. That way, even if they switch gear, they have a chance to drop their best piece of gear. Now, there's still a workaround for that. If they got a bag full of just whatever kind of gear, I guess they can protect themselves that way.
Right.
I don't think we're actually going to have a lot of corruption early for this one thing.
Right.
Experience that. Until people are like capped out, we're probably not going to have a whole bunch of corruption, because at the higher levels, and I remember this from Arcade, oh man, that experience that hurts. Like one death, it's like boom, big chunk of your experience. And depending on how slow the leveling is and how hard it is, you don't want to be 49 and lose a whole 400k in experience debt. No, but
it's true.
You can't de-level. So what's going to probably end up happening is people are going to get the level cap and then
start
the
PKing.
Yeah, because then it doesn't matter. I mean, it'll hurt you if eventually the game ends up in the level cap later and you're like 1 million negative. It'll hurt you, but it won't hurt you as far as de-leveling you. Because if your big time axe is a level 50 whatever, and you have to, you have to be level 50 to use it. If it de-leveled you, then most people probably wouldn't PK at all. But because you can't de-level from corruption, you just get the debt. I don't think we'll see a lot of it the first 2 weeks for sure.
Right. I think especially because of how punishing they're trying to make the corruption system. I completely agree with you. I think there's going to be people PKing for the memes, right? People will try to kill Asmongold or the streamers or whatever. But I think those people will soon realize this is dumb. Like, I am really gimping myself. Like, I'm either gonna have to delete this character and just start over again because I'm only a level 10. And that's probably the way to go for certain people that want to do the memes. But if they're really trying to like make that character their main, you're not gonna want to kill someone for the memes or for the troll. Like, it's probably not gonna be worth it if you, especially if you keep doing it. Corruption is a very interesting thing because I always try to tell the people that I know from WoW, like all my casual friends, about it, and they seem less hesitant when I mention that, hey, I know in WoW you can kill someone over and over and spawn camp them and there's no punishment for that person. There is pretty severe consequences for doing the same thing in this game. And I think that's what it's like, well, what do you mean? You know what I mean? So I think the corruption system is really going to save a lot of the PvE Andes that don't want to be bothered or whatever. Because I think the game that Intrepid is making, if you can just get that out of your mind for a second, I think this is going to be a game anybody can enjoy. like
Right.
for
There's something for everybody.
literally everybody. And a lot of my friends too, what's so funny, they're all profession people. They're now, let me be more clear. They're profession people in World of Warcraft Shadowlands. Do you know how vast the profession system is in that damn game? It's
Right.
freaking like a piddle paddle of nothing.
Yeah.
It's
It's nothing.
garbage. It's
Right.
garbage.
It's
So
garbage.
all I'm saying is that you will be so amazed with the profession system in Ashes of Creation, and
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
feel so much more valued of your time spent going in that profession than you are in any profession in Shadowlands. Now, I know
Right.
in Dragonflight, they're trying to make professions better or whatever, and that's great. I'm glad they're trying to finally
Yeah.
redo the profession system. But all I'm saying is that I think the profession system is going to be a huge boon for a lot of PvE Andes that, you know, don't like PvPing and they just want to do something meaningful in the game.
Right.
Profession, you're literally going to be able to probably just do professions and have a whole game loop surrounding that, which sounds pretty
It's
freaking awesome.
definitely looking like that. And the only other game that really lets you do that is Final Fantasy. This
Right.
is shaping up to be the best crafting and stuff like that next to Final Fantasy. It's going to be different because
Right.
I did my Star Wars Galaxy research like I said I would in that comment.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, this is deep. But it's more like spreadsheet numbers deep. Whereas in Final Fantasy, oh no, it's a whole nother game. You got to really make this stuff.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, so it's not quite like that, but it's like deep.
Right.
I was watching the video and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I see. I was like, okay, yeah, this is a lot. And they're gonna be valuable. Like I said, I am going to protect you, artisans. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, make my gear for me, because you're gonna need me.
Nope.
You know, and like, all right, husbandry guy, you need this egg from this really rare area. Okay, well, you know what? I need a fire-breathing dragon dog pet. So come on, let's go. You know, like it's gonna be that kind of community. Like everybody's gonna have to work together. So we can't just dunk on you and, you know, troll you all the time. Because if you blacklist people, which I think that people should get a option to blacklist.
Oh, for sure. That's definitely
if
going to
you're
happen.
Right, and you're the best two-handed weapon maker on the server, nobody's gonna fuck with you. Oh dang, I'm cussing a lot, but you know what I'm saying. Nobody's gonna mess with you. You know what I'm saying?
No, you're fine, man.
Because they need it.
No, it's true.
Like if you make the best, you know, one-handed weapons, and there's only 3 people that can make these daggers, you think the rogues are gonna be shanking you while you're trying to get your palladium or your obsidian? No, they're gonna probably leave you alone. You know?
No, it's true. And I think having that reputation is what people miss, because back in classic WoW or even vanilla WoW, like both have reputations, like people that have certain patterns, whether it's enchanting, whether it's
Right.
blacksmithing or weaponsmithing, they have a certain pattern that's really like hard to find. It's like, oh damn, you have that pattern. They just add them as a friend and be like, yes, this person has this pattern that I need, or whatever the case is. You know what I mean? And I really love that. I love how back in the day, you knew that person, like, oh crap, that's that guy that can make mongoose enchant. Like he was one of the 3 or 4 people back in the day, like that had mongoose within the first like week or two. And it was just like exciting, and people just knew people's names or whatever. And it's just like, or even if you were just a good tank, you're like,
Oh, yeah.
dude, it's like big tanks. I know that guy. I did a dungeon with him. He's freaking amazing. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like
You can
it's
become a legend. You can make so much money just being a good tank.
yes. I mean, and especially if you were a good person on top of that, you weren't like a dickbag or anything like that.
Right.
You literally just were, like I said, everybody wanted to be friends with you, because who doesn't want to be friends with a good tank or be friends with a good you know, healer, whatever the
Right.
case is. And that's what I miss so badly, because playing classic Wrath right now, like I love how interactive the community is. It's just so much more interactive compared to retail. Like
Right.
there's just a lot more community there, and that's what I feel like the MMO genre is like severely lacking.
Oh yeah, it's missing. Yeah,
Is
definitely.
a sense of community in the game. And I don't know, like why do you think that has been?
because the Don Dada daddy wow made it super casual, and then they just started really. I'm gonna say this, and I'm probably gonna get flamed in the community, but casuals have to be managed, because if you're not careful, casuals will kill everything you love, because there's more of them than there are mid-core, hardcore, the core players.
Right.
And so we need them. I'm not saying we don't need them,
Right.
but they're flaky. They come and they go. So you can't build your game for casuals. You have to make
Preach.
you have to make it casual friendly,
Yes.
but you can't make a game for casual. You make it for your core players because they're gonna stay.
Right.
But you has to be friendly so that the casuals can be casual and come and go. What happens is, because the casuals end up being sometimes 60-70% of your player base,
Right.
developers start making the game for them.
Yep.
And that's always the wrong answer. And they're just no one's ever figured it out. It's kind of like when Nintendo started betting on kids instead of that gamers are going to grow up and be 30 and 40-year-old gamers. They
Right.
kind of thought that we were going to stop gaming, so they bet on kids. They're still like stupid wealthy, but now there's a whole demographic of kids that like never play Nintendo, or they grow out of their Nintendos. It's the same thing with MMOs. MMOs stop servicing their hardcore and their mid-core players and start making a game for casual players. And I love them, but if you let them, they will kill everything you love in the name of convenience.
No, that's so true. And I think especially because WoW was so successful, when they went more casual and started doing a lot of convenience, there's the whole WoW clone, right? Like, oh, it's
Right.
another WoW clone. Well, they WoW cloned it off of the convenience model, because that
Right.
was what was attracting all these casuals to all these other games. Whether you want to say Guild Wars, Final Fantasy, SWOTOR, whatever.
They all did it.
They all started doing severe pay to convenience, and some even pay to win.
Right.
Like World of Warcraft, I mean, you can be in denial about it, but WoW is a pay to win game. Like, there's no denying that, especially with the WoW
It
token.
is the nicest, most neat, cleanest of all the pay to wins.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
But yeah,
It's
without
like-
a doubt, you can just buy tokens.
You can just buy tokens. Yeah.
you
And so it's very, a lot of people, have like almost like lost hope in the MMO genre. That's the way it felt last year. And it's like people want to have faith in Ashes, but because it's a PvP game, like that's where a lot of the contention is. And I think more people have went on to talk about the Riot MMO and how that's going to be the true savior of the genre. We're going to really get an amazing game from Riot, and it's going to blow Ashes out of the water. It's going to blow every MMO out of the water. Let me just say this. This may be a hot take. This may make you mad if you're a Riot person, but Riot could literally make a basic WoW clone and it'll still be the best MMO ever. You don't want to know why? Because
community.
the Riot community in League of Legends, there are over 130 million players playing that game. Even if 1% try out that basic bitch MMO, it's the biggest MMO out of all of them. The biggest.
Right.
So
Right.
they literally can do anything and it'll be the biggest MMO ever. So and to hear Ghostcrawler, because Ghostcrawler, Greg Street, he's the lead game
Right.
designer of the Riot MMO. Now, he has said that this MMO they're creating is not going to be for everybody.
What that means to me is it's gonna be PvP as well, because all their games are PvP games. A lot of these PvE Andes are gonna be like mad upset. It's gonna probably be PvX. It's probably gonna be a lot like Ashes. It has its lore established already. It's probably gonna be different, but it's probably gonna be a PvX sandbox in their world. I'm
Right.
honestly thinking that's what it's gonna be, and it's gonna have PvP. I don't think they make any games that isn't player versus player. So you think they're gonna all of a suddenly make a PvE game for you?
Right.
Like, and Ghostcrawler himself is like a pretty pro PvP guy.
Right.
So it's like that game's gonna probably be PvP. At least flag like New World, but it's probably just gonna be open world PvP, I imagine,
Now-
for the most part.
They can just make it like New World and just unflag yourself and you can do this whole game in a PvE way. But I don't know. Again, we haven't seen anything. And this is my whole thing. I just don't trust any AAA company when it comes to MMORPGs. I don't. I'm jaded. I admit I'm jaded. I don't care what the track record is for Riot. It doesn't matter to me because it's a AAA studio. At the end of the day, they are there to make money.
Right.
And I feel like I'll still listen to whatever it is, right? Or, I'll still, if it comes out and it's great, I want writes MMO to great. I want every MMO to get better. And I feel like, well, Final Fantasy 14 has been a great MMO. It is what it is, and it's stuck to it. It is a very PvE story-centric game, and it hasn't deviated from that. It's been that. It doesn't try to do anything else. And I feel like hopefully with Dragonflight for WoW, maybe it's going to start going in the direction that players want, especially with these brand new talent trees, especially with the profession system being revamped, with no, well, at least as no borrowed power that we can see right now. I'm not saying that for right now, there is no borrowed power. Guild Wars 2 with this expansion, apparently has been doing really well. I don't know ESO that well. I can't really speak on that. I don't know how well that game is doing, or even BDO. But all I want is the MMO genre to get healthy, to get better, to where people can talk positive about the genre because of all the improvements across the board that have been happening. Now, with Throne and Liberty coming out, now that's an Eastern, game, just like Lost Ark, which Lost Ark is a pay-to-win game. I feel like that's what makes it really hard to trust the MMO genre, because I think pay to win has just gotten so prevalent, right? And it's gotten so normalized in a sense. Like it's a meme at this point if a game's pay to win. Like look at Diablo Immortal, look at Lost Ark. Throne and Liberty is probably going to be pay to win. I mean, it's going to be by NCSoft, I believe. So
right.
Like, why wouldn't they not make it pay to win?
Yeah, I don't get excited about anything from the East because they look gorgeous, and sometimes they even have cool loops. Like Lost Ark is a really amazing game.
Right,
it's a good game, but it's just all the pay to win, and it's just like
I can't do the grind.
I can't do the grind. But the grind is there to make you pay.
No, right. And I think that's where I just lost my love for it, because I did have a great time playing it. As soon as I got to max level and I started realizing what I had to do to increase my item level, I was like, nah, I'm good. Like I just wasn't interested. And especially when I started watching videos as to like if you were a pay to win player compared to just doing it like the hard way, I was like, nah, that's stupid. I ain't gonna do that. I'm not going to devote my time to just getting a 1% or 2% chance to like hone my freaking weapon or my gear. It's just,
like at the top end. That's crazy.
It's stupid. Like, and I'm like, I don't want, like, it looks like what I have to look forward to does not look enjoyable to me. Like that that's just not what I find enjoyable. So I'm just curious, because we really didn't talk about this. Like, how did you find out about Ashes of Creation? Like, was it through the Lazy Peon video in 2020, or was it through some other means?
I'm trying to think. It was around the time of Lazy Peon, because at the same time he dropped that video, Asmon jumped on that video.
Yes.
So it was around that time.
Yeah, July 2020.
Right. I've been following the game a little over a year, so like a month or two before Alpha 1. So it might have been one of those videos.
Okay.
Yeah. It was Lazy Peon's first video, which was before there was an Alpha 1. That's the very first one.
So it's 2018. Yeah, 2018. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I came across that while just kind of like hunting for like MMO stuff. And then I saw it and it was on my radar, but because it was like so far out, I was like, oh, okay. And then I don't remember what I was playing at the time, but then I was kind of keeping up with it. I watched a couple of interviews, but they weren't as consistent as they were now.
Right.
And I just kind of kept up with it. And then around the time when Alpha 1 was getting ready to pop, I started really paying attention to it. Didn't make sense in life for me to pay the $500 at the time to get an Alpha 1, but I watched it a lot. And I liked what I saw even then for an alpha, because I've been a part of alphas and I've been a part of betas. And even Alpha 1, it was a really good Alpha 1. And if you haven't been around a lot of game development and seen a lot of alphas and a lot of betas, you can't appreciate even how well it ran in Alpha 1.
Right. And again, so it was a testing bed. People don't, you're so right, because there was a lot of people saying this is garbage. Like, what is this? Like, it looks so bare bones. And I'm like,
looks like a 1998.
It's like, dude, it's an alpha, and it's a technical alpha. You like, again, I think people have really, and I think that's why, another reason why they're really trying to make Alpha 2 as polished as they can. I mean, hell,
first impressions are important.
No, they most definitely are. And I think because of how many people compared to Alpha 1 have purchased Alpha 2, they really want, I mean, dude, just seeing the freaking pollen in the basic range attack, just like flowing in the wind, and
It
it's
was
like,
gorgeous, bro.
bro.
The way the sunlight was rolling in through the trees,
Oh my
and
god.
pollen and fog, and it's just it looks better now.
Yeah.
Pre-alpha 2 than almost probably all. I can't think of an MMO that looks better right now.
Dude,
Like,
no, there is no MMO that looks better than that right now, in my opinion.
I mean, they're all stylized.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like Final Fantasy style, but it's not this. It's not this at all. Like, this is something else. Like, this is gorgeous. When they did the UE5 update and I saw that, and I don't have a 4K monitor, but I got 1440p. And when it was like popped off my screen like that, I was like, oh, it's gonna look like this.
Yeah.
That's when I started telling all my friends. I was like, oh man, it's gonna look like this.
Yeah.
And then when one of my close friends is like, man, the combat looks kind of like it's gonna be kind of like ESO. I said, you think so? He's like, yeah, man, look how he's whipping that wand and how he was targeting. Because he wasn't locking on the targets in that, I don't think. Or we just didn't see any of the UI, so he might have been. But he's like, yeah, man, the movements, the climbing and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, keep me up to date. And so once I got a good idea, after I seen melee and range, I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be right in my wheelhouse. I got a couple thousand hours with this kind of combat.
Well, I was going to ask you real quick, how did your friends react if they saw the basic range attack? Because are some of your friends more action oriented?
Yeah, one of my friends I kind of introduced into MMOs. His name is Zero. He likes it. He's just like, man, let me know. He's like, oh, Alpha 2, it costs that much? That's what everybody says. And I'm like, yeah, man, I mean, you don't have to do Alpha 2.
No, yeah.
I said it, but I tell people it's persistent.
Right.
If you do, so you get Alpha access entirely, you're going to get 6 to 9 months worth of game. You're going to get 100 and something worth of in-game currency. I said, really, it's more like you're paying $115 after you get all your stuff. And that's not me even counting the cosmetics if you're into that thing.
Oh yeah. And all the cosmetics.
And so, he's kind of like, ooh, I'm going to watch you play it and then I might go ahead and buy in. But my homeboy Detroit, he goes by Simcoe in most of his MMOs. He's really, really looking forward to it. He's just like, hey man, just let me know. I just sent him information. But he's like me. We played so much ESO. The combat feels natural to us. And to us, because we're so competitive, I feel like I got an advantage.
No, for sure.
I feel like I got I got over 2,500 hours with this kind of combat.
And so
thousands and thousands of tab.
And so they didn't feel like this was crap or this was like, oh, the action, like people were really, when I was looking at the forums, the one term that I saw the most was soft lock. A lot of every time I saw soft lock, people mentioned it to say that they hate the fact that action has soft lock for the basic ranged. So
yeah, I saw that a lot. And that's why, like I'm trying to make content. I put this in my content.
Right.
You want soft lock. I don't care how good you think you are. Everybody's a god level PvPer.
Dude, I snipe heads, dude. I snipe heads. That's all I do.
You don't. No, you don't. The way that Ranger was, I was watching it in Paradox's stream, right? And the way that Ranger was moving, I was like, oh, nah. I don't want to have to, I'm not doing that. You want soft lock, bro. Because he's going to be rolling in and out of your soft lock. Trust me, it's not going to be on easy mode. He's going to freaking airstrike to the other side of the freaking mountain.
Yep.
All over your head. You're going to want that soft lock. You're going to want to spin around and shoot him. Like, you're going to want it. You're definitely going to want it. Like, especially for melee.
Right.
So, like, they think, that's one of those things where players think they know what they want.
Right.
But in fact, the developer knows what they need. I
like that.
You're gonna want the soft lock.
Yeah.
For someone who's played this kind of combat, because you can you have light weaving and roll cancel in ESO, which none of those things I think are gonna be in Ashes.
Right.
But because of that and all the hyper movement, especially if you're like wearing medium gear, I can like roll forever kind of thing.
Right.
Oh yeah, you want that. You want it. You think you don't, but you do.
Yeah.
Because another thing, the only thing I could be a little critical of, but it doesn't make sense for me to be hypercritical of anything because it's still relatively early.
Right.
Their AI trees need a little work. The AI was a little dumb, a little slow. I like the idea of how Final Fantasy has this very light kind of going from mob to mob, so you know which ones are connected. Because I feel like if the dogs are watchdogs, when you trigger a dog, I feel like things should come.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he pulled the dog, and the only reason why he pulled anything else is because he was rolling to get away from the dog. When
Right.
the dog alerts, at least one of the minotaurs should be attached to it
Right.
automatically.
Right.
And then within certain ranges of close to each other, everybody should be alerted, kind of thing. It makes it, and then they should be more intelligent. You
Yeah.
know,
I think the
you know,
AI needs to be a little bit tweaked, but what I did love about the Minotaurs in general was the amount of skills
they
that,
had, yeah,
because you look at any other MMO, WoW, Final Fantasy, Guild Wars, all they do is auto attack.
auto attack, maybe one move,
Maybe a casted skill, maybe
Right.
one casted skill,
It's
and
interruptible.
that's it. That is literally it. So
that
to,
is literally
so to have a charge, to have a shield, to have the freaking what was it, like
healing bubble.
the healing bubble, the freaking the shadow bolt that they were throwing, like all those things, like it was a pretty good cascade of abilities.
Right.
And again, I think once they do tweak, like if you do tag or accidentally like area aggro one of the dogs, how the Minotaur immediately, I would love if the Minotaur put a freaking bubble on the dog.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's a behavioral thing, so it's actually
Right.
probably pretty easy to do. And
Right.
it's probably in the wheelhouse. It's not necessary right now. But
Right.
that's like one of my only things I noticed. I was like, they're a little sluggish. They hit hard though, so I guess it kind of
right. And it's also really hard too, because Steven, first of all, his god mode, you know, the fact that he couldn't be killed, we saw him lose a lot of health whenever the Minotaur was fighting him. So I'm just really curious as to like what it practically looks like. And I know he said it's not going to be fun for us to see him die over and over, but again, like I just, it's really hard to tell like certain statistical things because you know, he was unkillable. But I think overall the visuals, the way, how many abilities the Minotaurs had, I was severely impressed of this.
Oh yeah, and they looked amazing as well.
I mean, that's just, the art team has been freaking stellar. Like,
Oh yeah, they got
they every time, like when I was looking at the Naga for like the serpent people they're creating, bro. Oh my,
they're gonna be bananas.
God.
Like even like the detail, the attention to details when he put the slits for the ears. All other games just let it clip. He put slits for the ears. Like, you can't help but respect that.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's the attention to detail, and it's just this crazy seeing something that's pre-alpha 2, and it looks amazing. Like it just looks good. Like it just looks flat good, and it's gonna look better. That's the crazy part.
Right.
It's gonna look better when it lands. It's gonna probably be the most, you know, handsome, attractive, beautiful, gorgeous, sexy MMO ever made. It's gonna look amazing.
Yeah.
So it's all, that's I have no doubt of nothing else. Like it's gonna look amazing.
Oh no, I hard agree. I mean, and I think I'm really hoping that just to, you know, wrap this up real quick, because I can't believe we were talking for almost an hour, but October's live stream, what do you think they're going to show for this upcoming Ashes of Creation live stream? They didn't really give us any hints. We don't really know what's going to happen from now until the end of the year. I have my speculation. I'll tell you what my speculation is, but I'm really curious to see like either what you think they're going to show or what you would want to see.
We're gonna get a big Christmas present because we have like the last, I think it's 2 years.
Right.
I would, so it's just so much content this month. So in the AMA, I'm more interested in how much he's gonna give us, because AMAs are actually usually for newer people following your game, because a lot of the questions that are asked are like very common questions. It's a good place to kind of put all the questions in one place. So that's why they do them.
Oh, for
but
sure.
Will he answer some of the more intricate questions? If he does, that's dope. What I really want is more combat, because that's how my mind speculates Alpha 2.
Right.
The more combat I see. And then there's only one big game system that we haven't seen, and that's naval. So what I want to see is a support character with probably a little bit more of their suite, dual wielding weapons. Because we haven't seen dual wield yet, and I'm not sure how it's going to behave. Is it just a regular old speed no matter what two weapons you have? Do you take the speed of whatever your main hand weapon is? So if you got a dagger in your main hand and a mace in your left, you're going to move dagger speed, or is it just a flat speed?
Or a percentage of both. Like, so if it's
Or
like
a percentage of both.
1.6 to like 2.4, it'll be like a 1.9 or like a 2
Right,
even.
right.
You know what I mean?
So they could do something like that. But yeah, I want to see more combat, because the more combat we see, I say they're always 20 or 30% ahead of us. So there's 20 or 30% more development, because they show you what's already good and what's already cooked. They don't show you things that need to be tweaked. They show you stuff that's super stable. So they very well might be deep into combat,
Oh,
and they're just showing us that.
100%.
So you can get a good idea of how deep if they show us the summoner, which we've never seen, or if they show us a bard, which we've never seen. So I want to see like a summoner or a bard, maybe a rogue, because we haven't seen the rogue. Somebody dual wielding, so I know that they have the main camps of combat done. That lets me know that they're working on augments and skills, which they can technically give us Alpha 2 and not have all the skills in the game.
For sure.
And then naval combat, because if they show us naval combat and it's pretty well implemented, and they can actively work on it, that means that that's pretty much done, or that's 80% done, which means it's Alpha 2 ready. At that point, then the only thing I want to see other than more combat and naval is I want an Alpha 2 date, even if it's like, quarter 3, or if they do the quarter 4, so they got all year to figure it out. I just want like a date.
Well, so
but I think from what I've seen, I think as early as Q3
for the Alpha 2.
Alpha 2. Yeah, I think could see Alpha 2 in Q3. We could see it late summer.
Okay.
But it depends on what we see between now and December.
True. Very true.
Right.
So I think for October, we're probably not going to see naval yet. I think we're going to see the full. I think what Margaret mentioned, something not this live stream but last live stream, when they revealed the Tolnar, and she was saying I wanted to do something special with the Tolnar, and then Steven's like, no, we can still do that. I think that's what we're going to see this month. I think we're going to see
Underrealm and Tolnar.
I think we're going to see a probably like an in-game preview of the Underrealm. We're going to see probably in-game Tolnar, and probably more pictures of like their completed full look for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be cool.
And I think we're also going to see a Scourge event or an Undead event. I think that's because they showed the zombie this past in September's live stream, and I think they're going to show us an actual like going into like an area where there's a bunch of graves and stuff like that, and them showing what an actual in-game event looks like, and what maybe some of the objectives you do or whatever, because they did talk about the event system a couple of months ago. So I think they're probably going to show us in game of what that may look like. That's just, again, all speculation. I'm just talking off the top of my head, because I think they want to do more Halloween-y kind of things, scary, ghoulish.
October. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
But I think in November is when I think they're going to show naval. I think they're going to show us a pretty good in-depth thing of naval. And I honestly have no idea for December. Like, because again, announcing Alpha 2, okay, I think we all have an idea that that's going to happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the whole live stream of them talking about Alpha 2.
Yeah. What other goodies are we going to get?
Exactly. So it could be nodes. It could be what a tier 6 metropolis. They can actually probably show the Riverlands. Remember that picture, that concept picture of the entire kind of like the main city in the Riverlands? They can actually show that off in a tier 6. And that way we can actually see what it looks like in game and how massive it is. I think that would be a great way to end the year, is to actually show something node related. Because,
especially a year as big as this.
Oh yeah, hands down.
Because they ended the year with UE5, and then they've been on a thunder run ever since. It's just like we never go more. Like, they spoiled this, so I'm hoping they can keep it up, because we never go more than like a month without getting something big the next month.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, ugh.
Now,
But the way he made it seem like is that they're gonna be like, showing a lot of stuff towards the end of the year.
right. And I personally feel that March is going to be when Alpha 2 is released. I think
Ooh,
late Q1 is when they're aiming for, personally.
you ambitious. I want your date. No,
No,
I want your date.
hey, I want it tomorrow if I had it my way. But
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, I just want, if they feel comfortable, and again, just by looking at the range basic attack, I mean, it looks pretty freaking good. So all I'm saying is that if
Oh, it looks playable for sure.
it definitely looks playable. Again, for an alpha 2, definitely playable. Does it have some rough edges? Of course, but it's an alpha. It's not finished. It's not the full final product. So I can understand that. I'm sure a lot of other people can understand that as well. But JROC, dude, thank you so much for, first of all, watching my content, hopefully liking, and just being a part of the, Vlhadus gaming community. And I just really appreciate you just reaching out to me and wanting to have this chat.
Oh yeah, nah, man, no doubt. I appreciate you having me. I kind of reached out on a whim, and when you were like, "Yeah, just hit me up on this," I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I can do that." And like I said, I appreciate it, man. You're building a really, really good community. I hope you, lots of success. I hope you grow with Ashes. Like Q said, you're a beacon of light. You're a very positive, really consistent. You're not abrasive in any way, for real. You have your opinions, but everything is palatable. You're a really good representative for the community.
Oh, dude, thank you so much, man. I love MMOs, man. Like, and I've loved WoW for so long, and I'm just now kind of, my sun is setting in WoW, and it's rising
Right.
for Ashes, and I just want Ashes to be the best game it can be. And if I can give my 2 cents about it, awesome. And the whole reason why, and again, guys, it's that easy. He literally just messaged me on Discord and said, "Hey, when can I be on your 1v1?" I was like, we'll hammer out a time, and it happened. You know what I mean? So I'm always looking for people. If you want to have a conversation with me, just reach out. I get tons of people to reach out to me, and sometimes ghost on me or whatever. I understand people have lives or whatever. But again, if you want to have a talk with me, just reach out and we can set it up as quick as possible. This month has some pretty awesome people that I got for October. So I really hope you like the kind of lineup that's happening for this. And my next 1v1, I think y'all are really going to enjoy. So, but JROC, again, thank you so much, man, for coming on and just giving us your expertise and your passion for the MMO community and for Ashes. And I can't wait to see your videos, man. Like, I can't wait you have an amazing voice, and I'm sure you're going to get that comment a lot in your videos, because your voice is smooth, man. It is deep and smooth.
Oh, well, hopefully it serves me well in my attempted YouTube career. Yeah. I got 2 ideas for videos. I'm almost getting ready to publish one, which is today, which is, by the time this comes out, it'll be out. I might even have 2 out.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm flirting with the idea because I've been a guild leader before, and I've definitely been an officer a bunch of times.
Right.
So if people follow my content and they keep up with me, don't be surprised if I, start a guild and I'm, looking for motivated people with Alpha 2. I kind of want like a small group, because what I know about launches is the best players in the Ashes of Creation don't even know about it yet or aren't even playing yet. Like, all of us that are like highly invested now, some of us are going to be really good. But then there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of young guys that pick this game up and they
for sure. Especially when you have people like Tim the Tin Man, Shroud, like all these Summit G1, like all of them that normally don't play MMOs. You know what I mean? They're known for playing other games.
Or played a long time ago, or play off stream.
Yeah. Exactly. So I feel like tons of people in their 20s and teens watch those streamers. And if they start playing Ashes, you bet your bottom dollar they're going to be trying this game, especially if it's only $15 a month. It's like there's no barrier to entry, really. I mean, it's just $15. So again, JROC, this was a freaking awesome conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it at home. If you did, hit that thumbs up. It helps the algorithm push the 1v1 out to more and more people. Subscribe if you want to listen to more of my 1v1 content. And me and JROC will definitely see you in Alpha 2 in March of 2023. So,
no doubt. Take it easy, everybody.
We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.